Well, if we run out of batteries, we could just
We'll just handwrite the rest of it.
handwrite it. So I asked you how my hair looked because you're good at two things. I think I'm good at only one thing. But you made it to the top of like two different fields. By the way, we're live.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you could say that. 2 different fields.
You were like you still are kind of. I mean, you just don't do it by choice, but you made it to like the high end of the hair world.
Yeah, upper echelon.
What is it? Hairdresser, hair technician? What would the proper term be?
Well, I think nowadays most people will say hairstylist.
Hairstylist.
But like the OG creme de la cremes, classically trained people, we were hairdressers. That was that's the original shit.
Did you do everything? Did you cut, dye, or was it just like styling?
Yeah, in the beginning, but then I just switched to cutting.
And you were like on Paul Mitchell's All-Star team?
No,
No.
Sassoon.
Sassoon, okay.
Yeah.
The Dallas Sassoon's All-Star team.
I wasn't on the All-Star team for them. I did my training there. So you go to like a basic school, right?
Yeah.
And then I went from there to Sassoon's.
And then
Sassoon is like kind of like getting your PhD.
Right.
And then I worked for Aveda and then other salons.
You went to New York for this, right? Like you were doing the high end clientele.
Yeah. I had training in New York and Chicago, doing all that.
How was the money?
Good.
Was it better than DJ money or no? Probably more work. The volume of work would be higher.
I would say, well, for me, the money was good because of the training, and then I was an educator and all that stuff. So
I wanted to jump into like where you started your adult life. So you basically, your first like big gig was doing hair.
Yeah.
Being a hairdresser. And then at some point you just said to yourself, this is cool, but this other thing is cooler. And then how did you make the transition? How did the DJ thing become the permanent field that you wanted to work in? Because it seems like you went to school, you were high end, and for somebody to ditch something that's working seems weird. And the thing is, you're really smart. So how did you pick your heart over your brain in that situation? Because you left it behind.
Yeah, well, DJing and music was always like the number one passion. But coming from a small town, I didn't really have, like, there weren't brochures or books or people to tell me how you get into like music production and DJing and things like that. And after I graduated high school, I was trying to figure out what I was going to do. And my dad was actually like, have you ever thought about going to hair school? And I was like, no, man, that shit's fucking gay. And he basically told me to grow up and introduced me to a man and a woman, husband and wife, and they had salons. And I got to talking to them, and I was like, oh, that sounds kind of cool. And then I met this guy who actually, at the time, was a hairdresser and a DJ. But I was talking to him more about the hairdresser thing, and he was like, oh, yeah, you get to travel around, and it's, creative, and it's, like, cool training, and you get to meet a lot of people, da-da-da-da. And I was like, all right. So I went and checked out a hair school, and it's, like, all chicks at the hair schools. Like, so when you go in there, like, I think I was 17 when I walked in there because I graduated early, so I was 17. So I walked in and I'm like, yeah. I could hang out here for a year. And I was like, the first couple of months, they pulled me aside and they told me that I see things differently than most people, and I had like a very advanced eye and that, and then they put me like in advanced classes. So the owner was basically like, you should focus on cutting, being that you're a guy and the way you see things. And that, so then after I finished that school, that's when I went to New York and I did the Sassoon training. And then after that is when I came back here.
How long did you live in New York?
I was there like right around like a year and a half.
Okay. Did you like it?
I liked aspects of it.
New York bugs me. I always feel like whenever I land there, I always feel like I can't wait to leave, because I think to myself, if there was ever a place that you didn't want to be, if there's a problem of any kind, there's just 12, 13, 14 million people stacked on top of each other.
100%.
Oh my God.
And like a lot of things that people forget about or don't think about with New York City is like you have like just like something like grocery shopping. So if you're going to go buy groceries, whatever you buy, you got to carry. And I grew up in the South, and it was like you buy something, you stick it in your car and drive home. So like that, and like going to eat lunch and having to stand and eat.
Right.
Just like the little petty shit is what.
Because there's so many people.
Yeah, and things can be a hassle, and it's like you have to have more of a set schedule because you got to catch a train or you got to look for a car. Or,
Would you ever go back?
If it's raining, it fucking sucks.
Would you ever go back?
I mean, I go back, but I'm never going to go live there.
Okay. So you did it for a year and a half, and you start the hairdresser game. At what point did you? Because I feel like you would know before you make the jump that you're going to transition. So you start lining up your opportunities. But how did the transition happen in your head that you're like, I'm going to move on from what I'm doing? The thing that I've spent 2, 3, 4 years developing, I'm going to move on to something else.
Oh, it was nothing like that.
No. Okay.
So the whole story with that was, I always wanted to DJ.
Okay.
Like I remember looking at like turntables, like a fucking Belk's catalog or some shit like that. Just like where did these things come from? Like where do you even buy these things at? You know what I mean? And I remember talking to like a school guidance counselor about music production and things like that, and they're just like, "What? Like no, college?" I'm like, "No, fuck college. I'm not really trying to do that."
Oh man.
And I was getting, it's just like, well, okay, so nobody really knows. And then so that's how I stumbled upon the hair thing. So then I do the hair thing, and I loved it, and I became like just fucking consumed with it. And one day, I was cutting this guy's hair. His name's Will Pleasant. And I've been cutting his hair for probably like 2 years at the time. And one day he's like, man, I'm sick and tired of paying you so much for haircuts. And I think at that time I was charging like $80 a haircut. And he was just like, I'm tired of paying you so much for haircuts, which he said jokingly. But then I was like, all right, well, what you got? Like, let's work something out. And he was one of those like stock market guys. Like he just monitored it, and then I guess like a hedge fund manager or something like that. Anyway, so he had like everything under the sun. He was talking about, he was like, well, I got Segway scooters and I got a video camera, like anything like somebody with some money would think is cool. They'd go
Toys.
get it and they'd toy with it and they'd be
Toys.
like, ah. So anyways, turns out that this dude in his younger days used to throw parties like raves and stuff. And he was like, well, I got some turntables and a mixer. And he said that, and I was like, yo, give me them turntables and the mixer and I'll cut your hair for free for 2 years. And he was like, word? And I was like, yeah. So he was like, sure enough, like the next time he needed a haircut, he brought 2 turntables and a big coffin.
Wow.
And this like piece of shit Newmark 2-channel mixer.
How many times a month was he getting his haircut?
At least once a month.
So that's $960. So that's around $2,000, $2,000 deal. He won, I think.
Yeah, because even after that, I kept cutting his hair for free.
Oh, nice.
I just needed to get my hands on turntables.
Nice.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I was like, yo, and he brought them over, and I was like, all right. He showed me how to set them up. I went and bought some records. The next time he came over to the house, he showed me how to put the needle on the first beat. and find that, and then I just started teaching myself.
How many years ago was this? Do you remember?
I think that was like 2006, maybe?
Nice.
2006 or 2007. I want to say 2006.
Just for the record, we're 11 years removed, 12 years removed from the first time you ever put a needle on a record.
Yeah.
So like the level of accomplishments that you've actually achieved in that time, I think is pretty high up there. I think it probably is a reflection of your character, because I believe we're very similar. When I like something, I get obsessive, and it's like nothing else matters because I want to be like really, really good at it. And you did that with the hair thing.
Yeah.
And
and then with the DJ thing.
And then you just switched it off like a switch and went off on another
direction. I was still doing hair, so like I was still doing hair, living in an apartment with my homeboy, and I would get done at the salon and just rush home and just fuck with those records all day for the rest until I fell down asleep.
Nice.
And then I was like, and then my homeboy bought a house, and I was like, and he wanted a roommate now, and my other buddy was about to move somewhere for a job, so I was like, all right, so I moved in with this other dude, and he had a house, and then I would just do hair during the day, and then come home and just DJ in the room. So I think I DJ'd it like in a bedroom for probably like a year and a half. Yeah, I was probably like on those records for probably like, I don't know, 5 or 6 months. And then I bought the laptop and Serato. And then like just uploaded all that. Was, yeah. So I think I was in the bed, because I think I started DJing like, I think I got my first check at like 2007. I think.
That's so fast. That's so fast.
Yeah, so I would make these. The way that happened was I would make these, I would record myself to CD, and then I would listen to the CD while I was driving around and kind of critique myself.
Nice. How did you know what good sounded? Did you go out to clubs?
Well, yeah, I'd always been, like, I was a club kid from the moment I could get in. For like
okay, got it. 16
years old with fake IDs, to, just whatever. Like, I loved the nightclub. I still love the nightclub. Like, I think,
yeah, I know what you're saying. It's a fun energy.
Yeah, all the aspects of it. Like, from having to dress up and wait in line to all this, all the stuff that people think is shitty about a nightclub is like the things that I love.
Nice.
So yeah.
Too bad you don't have to wait in line anymore.
So yeah, so the first check. This is a funny story. So I was dating this chick, and she was an esthetician, and she had an older brother, and he was a supply guy for like hotels. Like, so he had a company that supplied like the hotel rooms with like the TVs and the speakers, like all that stuff. He was one of those guys. Anyways, I was cutting his hair one day, and he was telling me that he always wanted to have a nightclub. His name is Derek Braun. A lot of people have heard of him. But he was like, I always wanted to have a nightclub. And I was like, yo, I've always wanted to DJ. And I was like, you know what we should do? And he was like, what? I was like, we should throw a party. And I was like, we'll call it the Stylist Industry Party. We called it SIP. I think that's what it is. No, Stylist Industry Night. We just called it SIN, like off of that.
Okay.
And I was like, because I know that I can get like 150, 200 hairstylists to show up. And he was like, all right, word. So we went and found this nightclub here in Charlotte that was like a cool spot, but it was like the cool spot, but like it wasn't packed. You know what I mean? And they did a lot.
So just enough where they would trust you and be like, we have nothing to lose. Here's the door. Figure it out.
Yeah, and we went out and we bought like red carpets and photo walls. Like, we did it up. And he rented out anything that he could turn into a VIP table. He rented out. He turned into a VIP table. And we packed that bitch out with like 500-600 people.
Wow.
And we had to make a bar guarantee of $3,000 or it was something.
Right.
But anyways, we went and bought a strobe light for this place because they didn't have a light. So we went and bought this light and we hooked it up, and the owner was like, I like that light. If you guys don't make your bar guarantee, I'm going to keep the light. So, you know, we crushed this night. I'm like, we just know that we crushed it because it slammed. And, like, the owner's like, yo, like, who are all these hot girls? Da, 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 da. So, anyways, at the end of the night, I was like, yo, we were worried about this guarantee. I was like, did we make the guarantee? And Derek's like, nah, we didn't make it. I don't know how we didn't make it. So, anyways, after that night, needless to say, the club owner was like, I want you to be a resident here. And then Derek started working with that dude on some other things, like for nightclubs and stuff. And later on, we found out that we blew the guarantee out of the water. Like,
so the owner...
The owner just juiced us.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Just taught us a lesson. You know what I'm saying?
I guess that's a good way of looking at it.
I mean, we didn't lose anything except the light. You know what I mean?
Okay, so
like,
you guys...
I still got my check for DJing.
Okay.
Derek still got, you know, whatever percentage he had for his table sales and things like that.
Okay.
Door money, etc.
You lost the strobe light.
Yeah, we lost the strobe light.
Okay. He really wanted that strobe light. Did he know that he could buy a strobe light? Or...
Yeah, but I think it was the fact that it was just there and hooked up already. And
Okay.
and just something to, like, toy with.
So he says, I want you here every Saturday.
I think it was every Saturday. It was me and this dude, Nick Spain. So Nick Spain was a really dope house DJ. So he would do like 9 to 11:30 or so, and then I would come on and I would do like the hip hop and the mashup shit, or what, you know, the hip hop pop and all that.
How do you think that you sounded? Do you have anything recorded from back then? You ever listened to it, or were you a good DJ already?
Yes, because I spent so much time training myself.
I got it.
So even like I'm nothing like I am now, but I was good. Like you know, everything was on beat. There were no like crashes, and I've always known how to read a crowd, and I've always kind of known like what was hot and shit like that. So it was.
The technical part was down, yeah. The development of the actual DJ brain, I think, takes a while. Yeah. Once you get down to technical ability and you figure out how to go from one song to another, that's just like learning how to throw a jab in boxing. There's a whole 99% of other things afterwards.
Yeah, and then and also because of like coming up in the hair shit and just being a creative individual, I think I was like a breath of fresh air to the club goers because I just saw and thought about it differently.
Yeah.
That's always been like the out of the box aspect of me has always been like the major sell, or like, you know, that's like the draw.
I dig it, and actually I think something that I've been thinking about draw.
I said that like draw.
You know, two things. Well, number one, when we first met, I was like, your accent, your southern accent, just doesn't match anything else about you. Like, it's almost like somebody like picked up somebody from another part of the world and just dropped you here, and you just like adopted the accent, but you're like not.
Oh yeah, and it's been like that my whole life.
It's
like,
so weird.
Even in high school, I came from like like a small town, and the school was like, there was like the redneck kids and the black kids, and then the smart kids, but I was always cool with everybody. So it was, you know what I mean? It's just it was a small town, and I like grew up playing golf and shit. So I'm very seasoned, but the southern accent. Because I remember doing the hair training, like when I would do the education, a lot of times people would be like, you need to try to lose the accent. Because they want you to, you know, be European and da-da-da-da.
Oh,
and I was
man.
always like, fuck that shit, man. Like,
I've
always made it a point to keep the accent.
Man, you should have adopted it, accepted it, and like actually augmented it, just cut hair in a cowboy hat.
Yeah.
And like have that shit be your thing.
Yeah.
People would walk in and be like, I want the cowboy.
Yeah, because even like I think, and a lot of people have told me this when I would go to do recruitings and things like that. They were always like, you could just tell that you were just, just down to earth, and you know, I was never trying to front on anything.
So that was one thing that I've always found very interesting. The other thing that I've been thinking about after we spoke about doing this podcast is that I'll go around town when I'm only here in Charlotte for like a day at most, but whenever I go to a different venue, everyone's always doing the right thing as an opening DJ.
Right.
And I'm just like, I look at the culture that's here. I don't know if it's all you, but I think that you have a large influence on the DJ population here. And I'm sure that one time or another you've spoken to a lot of the DJs and been like, you're doing that wrong, you're doing this right, do that, do this, do that. So any spot that I go to, I always think Rowshay had a hand in this. Rowshay had an influence in making this place like be how it is, because a lot of the DJs here do what they're supposed to do the right way, not just the openers but headliners also. I think am I right in assuming that you had a hand in it, or was the market always?
No, I definitely had a hand in it, and like all the OGs here, like Skip was big for me, and Dirty, and Tommy Tom, DR, like a guy Matt Bollock, like DJ Red, like I mean, there's always been a very there's a lot of solid guys that know how to do the right thing.
Right.
Butterfingers, like Incognito, like I mean, just.
So I'm curious.
I think the part that I played was kind of like those all how do you explain it? But like I'm like the first new age DJ.
Yeah.
You know, does that make sense? Like that one, and a lot of guys saw that, and it was like, okay, that's how you do it.
I understand.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess you could mark a radical shift in the way things were done after Serato.
Yeah.
Because it just opened up so many different things. It just became a whole different world. So I totally understand when you say the new wave. So just out of curiosity, and you don't have to go into specifics, what are all the OG DJs doing these days? Do you know, or?
Yeah, they're still DJing.
They're still DJing?
Yeah.
Nice.
All of them that I mentioned are still DJing.
So the market here is relatively strong.
Oh yeah. It's not. There's a lot of places to DJ. It's not necessarily like there's not a lot of nightclubs,
Mega clubs,
right? But there's a lot of places to DJ, whether it's with the radio or the bars, the lounges. There's all kinds of parties. There's always a need for a DJ. Got it.
Your primary source of income after you quit hairstyling has been DJing.
Yeah, so the way that went down, like I was DJing and cutting hair at the same time, or for the first time, for a very short amount of time. And I remember me and Derek was at a club here in Charlotte one night, and I looked at him and I was like, yo, I'm going to do this DJ shit. Like, I'm going to quit hair tomorrow. And he was like, you're crazy. Like, what are you talking about? I was like, Derek, you got to commit. If you're going to be successful, like, you got to commit, man. And sure enough, the next day I was like, I'm out. So then I just was like, this DJ shit's got to work. So I just got to beating that pavement.
Double down.
And yeah. And then a salon, probably a year later, some friends of mine were opening a salon, and they asked me if I would help opening. So then I went and did the DJ and the hair thing.
But hold on, let me ask you: when you made the decision to just stop the hair thing, was it all done at the club that night, or did you put any thought into it? Were you like, I'm gonna? Did you do math? Like, did you do any prior research, or did you just say, nah, I'm done? Like, did you sit down and say, okay, if I work every weekend, or if I can add this day and that day, that would be this much money approximately. What I'm making now is this. Like, did you do any of that, or did you just say, fuck all?
Yeah, I was like, fuck it.
Wow. Holy shit.
But I can't say that there was no thought in it, because I think things out, but I don't always think things out with a plan and like a marketing plan and on paper. But my intellect allows me to think on, like, I can just do it in my brain.
Yeah, no. I'm with you. You're a really, really smart dude.
So I was like,
but that's what's scary is the fact that you didn't stop to be like, let me weigh out positive, negatives, pros and cons, do a list. This is good. This is bad. You just said, fuck it.
Yeah, yeah, I was like, fuck it. And it, because see, I went and did this party in Charleston for these people that needed a DJ. And they got my contact, and I went down there and did it and killed it. And it turns out that this party was like this group of people in Charlotte who were like running the nightlife scene at the time. Like they were the people that went out and spent money. They traveled in like a pack of 200 on any given weekend.
Wow.
So when I went down there and crushed their shit, they were like, yo, they started going to nightclubs and being like, we'll come, but you have to book Rowshay.
Wow.
So then I just became like this. I went from the bedroom to being like
the guy.
Yeah, like this is the guy. And
okay.
So I was like, all right, if I got one residency or whatever, I was just like, fuck it, man. I was like, if I can make enough to pay my rent and eat, I'm good.
Nice.
Like look at her.
Okay.
But there was never a thought in my mind that I wouldn't make it. I was like, yo, like, I mean, I just knew it.
It blows my mind that you didn't have some sort of a meeting with yourself. You didn't have a family at the time, right? It was just you?
Yeah, I was just here.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just me. Oh, you mean like I didn't have my wife and kid? No, it was just me.
Okay, so I would understand more that way, where you're just like, fuck it.
Yeah, and you got to realize, Juan, I made money cutting hair. Like I was.
I know you made money cutting
so
hair.
Like
$80 a haircut is not a joke.
I could live. I mean, I could go. I had it stacked.
I'm sure you did, Mr. I get paid in cash for the most part, allegedly. If you're doing $80 haircuts.
Oh no! You're on the level I was. It wasn't the cash business.
It wasn't cash anymore.
It wasn't barbershop. It was all commission scales and things like that. I mean, there was cash tips, but it was all
$80 a haircut. You got to be doing what? 5 haircuts a day. It's $450.
Oh, I was doing like 10 to 13.
10 to 13. Okay, first of all.
So do 10. That's 800. Then break your commission off, so you walk away like 5.
So $500 a day, 5 days a week, $2,500.
Well, that's so you got 5, and that's your commission, and then Uncle Sam gets his cut. So now you're down to like $350. All right. So then let's say you did 10. That's probably a $20 tip. So there's another $200 on the tip. So you're like $500 a day.
Jeez. And you said, fuck it.
Yeah, I was like, yo, like this.
Do you ever think about that decision and look back and say, damn, if that didn't work? Well, but you could always go back.
Yeah.
You could always go back.
I still have a license, and like it's like when you went through the training that I went through, it's like.
Do you renew your license every year? Or?
Huh?
Do you renew your license every year?
It's like every 3 or 4 years you have to do it. But yeah, I do it.
Yeah, you could always just go back. It's something I mentioned on a previous podcast where people are like, I'm not sure if I should jump into this. I have this job, but I want to do this full time. There's no way to do them both. All right, I'll cut in right here. We just started talking about something that we decided we didn't want to share on the podcast, which is not something I normally do, but considering what it was, it probably should be left off. But the idea, the gist of it was that you had a job a little bit after cutting hair, before you went full-time DJing, and you were there for a very short amount of time, and you just looked around and you're like, I don't want to do this. I hate being here. It was like an office thing. And even though the upside to it would be that you would be very wealthy in a few years, you just decided against it because you wanted to follow what you enjoyed doing. And for you probably would have died a million small deaths in that office or in a cubicle or wherever this was. And I think that's the decision that people wrangle their brain over, or rack their brain over, rather. It's like, I don't like what I'm doing. I really like what this other thing is, but I'm scared.
Yeah, and that dude, the dude,
that you worked
it wasn't just an office. It was like
Sure, whatever it was. Let's not get into specifics, so we'll
it
have
was
to cut it out.
it was a cool fucking job to a lot of people. It was an opportunity of a lifetime for most people. And he liked me because he thought that I was very smart and quick-witted and all that stuff. He thought that I was fearless. And
Do you ever regret leaving that?
no, because...
Okay, let's just stop talking there.
But that dude was actually the guy. I called him up and I was like, yo, man, I really appreciate the opportunity, and but I'm just going to do the DJ thing. And he was like, good.
Nice.
And he was like, if you don't do it now, you will
Regret it.
regret it.
So there's another positive message. There's always a way to come back. Like, unless you are the CEO of a company and you're on the way up, I think any job can be put on hold and then return to if you decide that the DJing thing's just not working.
Yeah, but like there's like the dude that invented that game Cranium, is that the name of it? He was like a big wig CEO, and he was like, I'm out and I'm gonna go do this board game, and people are like, you're crazy, but then he made Cranium.
The inventor of the board game. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think, at the end of the day, I've been around a lot of rich, successful people pretty much my entire life. And the one thing that they all have in common is they absolutely love what they do, and they put themselves in a position to where they have to succeed. But the main thing, and none of them ever do it based off of money. It's never like, I'm doing this because I can get rich.
Right.
It always starts out with, I'm doing this because I have this vision, and I know if I stick to it, it will be this.
Right. Well, I think that's almost a requirement, because you'll never work as hard at something you dislike.
Yeah.
Because it's just not in your fiber, like the bones, like every cell of my body. If I'm having a not so good day, or if I'm tired, or whatever negative connotation you can put on a day, which there are not a lot of. But once I start DJing, I'm like, oh, this is fucking dope.
Yeah.
This is great, and I feel so much better. It's therapy. It's my best friend. It's my release. It's the way that I think. It's my creative execution. It's so many things rolled into one, and I would hope that kind of is reflected when I'm actually playing. And I think for the people that you mentioned that are successful and wealthy, they find their positive checkboxes in what they're doing, and that's why it shows, and that's why they're successful at it. Mm-hmm. Because there's like this certain relaxation that comes when you like what you're doing, and it's gonna make you money. You're just so relaxed, and if there's a problem, you're like, oh, we'll deal with it. It's all right. We have all these other positive things we got, as opposed to, Jimmy, you didn't sell enough insurance last week, so we're gonna have to cut your pay.
Right.
That is just, oh goodness, Jimmy, if you're out there listening, quit the insurance job. Just be a DJ.
Yeah, 100%.
Just do it, Jimmy.
If you're tired of that guy telling you, like some people get told that and it motivates them, but if you're tired, if you're sick and tired, if it's like going to work every day and catching a jab to the gut, man, get out of it.
Especially now, man.
Because you're gonna fucking die. No matter what, so do what you want to do. Like, go for it.
So true. You're gonna die anyway.
I had it's a funny story. I had a lady I got to at the club like a couple months ago early, and this lady it was at Stash. She was there every Thursday. Lovely lady.
Stash is a venue in Charlotte.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's there every Thursday. Older woman. I don't know. I'd probably say maybe late 30s. But corporate, successful corporate woman, but she comes to Stash and she would smoke hookah and listen to, I'd play Afro beats and reggae and shit like that she liked. But she asked me one time, she was like, she just thought that being a DJ was hard because of all the stuff we do. Mm-hmm.
All the hand motions?
I was like, no. I was like, if I really think about it, I was like, the hardest part of my job is taking a shower and like just getting here. Like, that's honest to God, like the most tedious, difficult thing for me is like
getting up to start.
Now, if I had to set up my shit everywhere I went, that part would suck, but not really. But like when you roll into clubs and places and everything's there, and you know what it is, and you've helped format these places from day one, and like taking a shower and getting ready is the hardest part, because then you get to come in there and you get to play records and watch people dance and talk and laugh and Drink free, sugar-free Red Bulls.
Oh, that's a thing. You have a thing for Red Bull that I think is highly unhealthy. You need to stop it. I actually, you mentioned this, getting out of the shower. I always tell people that they pay me to travel.
Yeah,
100%.
100%.
DJ for free.
Yeah, you'd be DJing at your house making those fucking videos and shit if you weren't here. You know what I'm saying? Like,
so last night I played. The night before, today is Saturday, right? Yeah, Saturday. Thursday night, I didn't sleep because I had an early flight to Philadelphia. So I got on the plane to Philly, landed in Philly, took a car from Philly to Atlantic City. I slept on the plane. I didn't sleep the night before. Slept on the plane 2.5 hours maybe. 3 hours at most. And then landed in Philly. I didn't sleep in the car. I worked on music. Got to Atlantic City, ate something. Took a nap from, let's say, 3 o'clock to about 9. Showered, went to the club, DJ'd, got back to the room at 3. Stayed up till 6:30 in the morning, had car service. Went from Atlantic City to Philadelphia. Went to sleep on the plane. I didn't sleep yet. Slept on the plane, boarded around 10 a.m. So it's only an hour flight. So I slept from 10, or rather 11, to about noon, landed here, got in a car, and got to the hotel room, ate something, and then napped from 3 to about 8, I want to say, something like that, 5 hours. So now I'm going to stay awake, I'm going to go eat something, play at the club. My car actually leaves, I think, at 10 a.m. or 11, so I can actually sleep in a bed at nighttime for the first time in 3 days. And with all that I just described, I still feel fucking fantastic, and this is the best job in the world.
It's what you signed up for. It's whenever you were at your mom's house. This is what you were dreaming of.
This is exactly what I was dreaming. I wish they would have developed teleportation by now, but since they haven't, I could never complain about anything. But it is funny when people say, "Oh, I'm so tired."
Yo, that used to bug the shit out of me when I first got into the game and I started meeting DJs and they would hit you with, they would talk about being tired all the time. I'd be like, shut the fuck up. That whole tired shit is lame. Oh, so tired. What the fuck you do all day, bro? Really?
Well, if it's like a real physical condition, I could understand somebody, if they have low.
Nah, I think it was just they was trying to be on their rock star shit, they're tired, they're so overworked.
I see.
Yeah, I was like, nah, that shit ain't flying with me.
I've been working so much, I'm so tired.
Yeah, all right.
I'll tell you right now, if you told me, let's go to South Carolina and buy some fireworks.
We're with it.
Come on. I'm not only am I with it, but I'm like, why didn't you say so from the jump? I'm quote unquote tired now, but tired doesn't mean I'm not doing shit. If anything, what I want to do...
You have footage of us shooting fireworks already here.
Yeah, I do. What I want to do is I'm trying to
superstar hype beast buddy Crespo.
I'm trying to push my body, inside of reasonable parameters, right? But I want to see how far I can stretch it before it starts pulling back. That's what I think is the definition of somebody successful, because it doesn't matter what I do with my time afterwards. It's just I want to see not just the body thing, not just physical. I'm trying to push everything and just pull it and stretch it apart to find limitations. And I keep finding that the more I pull, the more I stretch, the more I push, the whatever adjective or verb you want to put there, everything just keeps moving forward.
Yeah.
It's really dope, because when I think, I'm at my limit, I can't go more, I'm tired, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that, it's not going to work, whatever. I just do it, and I'm like, oh shit, it worked. I'm not tired. I can do more.
Yeah.
It's so dope.
There was a time when Lainey was first born, and it was, me and my wife were, just
doing everything that new parents do. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I would go to the salon, come home for a little bit, be a husband and dad, a couple 3 hours, and go to a club, DJ till, to whatever, get home 3:30, 4.
Did you ever complain about it? I feel like it's not in your being to complain. Maybe you said to your wife, I need more time to sleep, or if I'm sleeping to wake me up, but not I can't deal with this shit. This is too hard. I don't see you being that kind of person.
No, it was never that. It was, because the funny thing is when I was doing it, I wasn't doing it because I had to. Like, I wasn't doing it so that we could make rent.
Got it.
I was doing it because at that point in time, I was so passionate about both things that I had to do them. Because, like, the DJ stuff wasn't giving me enough. But on the other hand, the hair wasn't giving me enough. So I had to have, like, both of those things.
But we're not talking about money enough. You just mean enough, like enough.
No, I was making enough money as just a hairstylist, or I was making just enough money as a DJ. Like,
Right.
we were.
When you
always
mean
good.
enough, you mean fulfillment.
Yeah, I'm talking about fulfillment.
Right.
Like, what really matters.
Did your wife ever tell you got to pick one or stop it, or was she supportive?
My wife is the most amazing woman on earth, and she's always had reservations about, doing both or picking one or whatever, but she's always been 100% supportive at the end of the day about whatever I choose.
Why would she have reservations? Did she feel like you were burning yourself out?
Yeah, well, she knows that if I just do the hair thing, that Rowshay monster is always going to be like. You know what I mean? And then she knows, because she knows that DJing is what I really love. Like that, the people, the nightclub, she knows like that is. So she, of course, as a mom and a wife, I think they have reservations as far as like someone being out till 4 a.m. and having to do the travel that I do, and just the environment as is. But it was always because she had my best interest in mind.
Right. That makes sense.
A funny story about her when we first started dating. We were probably dating a little bit. I was DJing at Sweet, and the creative director Brad Beltrando was there, and we were buddies forever. And she was there, and she was getting a little testy about this girl that kept like coming up to me. And Brad looked at her. He's like, "What you so mad about?" And she was like, "That girl keeps coming up here." And Brad goes, "Listen," he said, "you don't have to worry one bit about Dwayne, because the only thing he's going to give any of these girls is a complex." Because he'll make some smart-ass remark about her hairstyle or what she's wearing. Or... so.
Oh my God, that's so good.
Yeah.
First of all, shout out to Brad for being such a fantastic buddy in that moment.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's nothing else that I think he could have said that would have made her feel like as good as that. That's perfect.
Yeah,
And she probably immediately said, "You know what? He's right. If this guy's saying this, it's cool."
And then the more she got to know me, the more people see is like the only reason I'm in it is for the DJing. Like,
Right.
I don't want to, I'm not trying to like chase chicks or get drunk and do drugs. I mean, I'm there because I just want to be a fucking great DJ and, meet the people I meet and da-da-da.
What a great comment by Brad. Jeez.
Oh, yeah.
Jeez.
Brad's full of great comments.
He's only going to give him a complex.
Which is so true, too.
you ever have moments where you want to get on the mic and just like rip somebody up?
I 100% every night of my life, because I just love, like, I'm very, I don't think you can say anything to me that is going to like put me in a dark hole about,
Right, about you suck, or you're a terrible DJ, or this is the worst night ever.
Yeah, like what I'm wearing, or my haircut, or like going bald, and all, just shit like it's whatever. It's who I am.
Right.
So like I expect everybody else to be like that. So like I like to just kind of poke fun and talk shit all the time. So I would. But yeah, I have to. Nah.
Do you have anything recently happen like that? I had something happen last night.
Recently happened like what?
Like you wanted to get on the mic and just tear somebody apart. While you think, last night there was there's three different instances, 2 of which were funny, and one was kind of like, whoa. So the first one is this older woman is just like really gesturing and just having a full-blown conversation with me in the nightclub. Like she's maybe 35 feet away from me under the DJ booth, and she's talking and making hand gestures at me.
Yeah.
And I always do this thing where I just say like 3 things without saying them. I just move my mouth, and then they do like, "I can't hear you" gesture. And then I'm like, exactly, I can't hear you either. And then they get it.
And they're like, "Oh yeah, because we're like
exactly.
club and speakers."
So she's having a full-blown conversation, and she really is trying to get my attention. And I wanted to just get on. In the moment, I just had this like, I want to be a comedian thing, and I just wanted to be like, everybody, listen, this woman has something really important to tell me. I'm going to put down the volume.
Okay.
Everyone, please be quiet so she can explain to me what she needs to explain to me that's so dire in this moment. I didn't do it, thankfully. That woman was kind of crazy. I spoke to her after I got off.
Which makes it even better.
Oh, my goodness. No, she was like, oh, so I'm here, and I'm 37. I'm here for the second night in a row by myself. I got off my AA meeting yesterday and told myself I'd go out. I'm not drinking. This is just seltzer water. Anyway, about the music. And she one of those people that would not let you get a word in because she knew if she stopped talking, you'd walk away.
Right.
So she was just going at it. Thankfully, I didn't do anything on the mic because...
Was she talking like the music was good or was it bad?
There was no good or bad with this woman.
It was just her opinion.
It was just me.
Yeah.
One
Whatever.
of those people. So
listen, man, I've always wanted to do a show, right, where like you keep a video camera on the DJ booth, and when people come up and be quote unquote assholes, you get it on camera.
Right.
And then the next day, like me, you, and some more of our buddies watch the videotape, and then we do some recon and find out where she works, and then we just get like banging ass drunk, and then we go to like her mortgage broker job, and we're just like, yo, like I need a mortgage now. Now you gonna do my next? What are you doing next? Me next? Like and just basically just start handling people the way they handle DJs. Like like when a waiter comes up to you, just like hold your phone up at them.
oh my God.
Or like you go somewhere and they're like, what would you like to drink? And you're just like, I'm from New York.
That's my favorite idea.
Every time somebody feels the need to tell me they're from New York, I'm like, that sucks.
That's my
Not saying that New York sucks, but like.
So what you're referring to is basically people that come up to you and they're like, I'm from New York. Like you're just DJing, you're playing records, you're doing your job, and someone comes up and they're like, I'm from New York.
Oh yeah. This always like, yo, we from New York. Like whenever I was on, we were in the Bahamas last week, and I was smoking a cigar with this dude, and the first thing he told me was he was from New York, and I just kind of laughed. Like he felt the need, like he was like a 5'7" Italian dude. Like, duh, of course you're from fucking New York. Like,
why do you think they have that thing where they have to let you
it's
know?
NY, baby. Like
okay.
The shit runs deep.
I understand. It's kind of like a nationalistic weird thing, but you're from a city.
Yeah.
So wait, let's go back to that show idea, because that show sounds like a show I want to watch. I want to be a part of that show. That's so good.
Yeah.
So somebody that comes up to you, you would do the exact same thing that they did to you.
In a way.
Okay.
Yeah. So if they're, being belligerent or pushy or whatever, then you go to their job and be belligerent and pushy.
So like the guy last night that was doing this bird sign language to me, and then he was doing this bird thing, and then he was doing some other hand gestures, and I'm like, I don't even have the time to try to figure this out because I'm working.
Yeah, you just go hit him with the bird hand gestures and shit.
So go to his
job.
insurance job.
Yeah.
And when he asks me what I'm there for, just do
hit him with the bird. And then we're out. Put it together, man. Get Lewis on it. He's got some... Lewis can manage it because it's going to be a banger.
Oh, my God. Well, the thing is...
No, could you imagine going to, like, Outback and the waiter comes over and he's like, what can I get you? And you just hit him with your phone?
All right, so I think we left off on the show, the reality TV show. For everybody listening, the iPod... Holy shit. I'm fried. The podcast. Podcast. The recorder ran out of battery just as we were discussing our blockbuster reality TV show, and then we decided to just go eat something, and then we went to go play our respective clubs. I played at Candy Bar, he played at Vault, and it's a couple hours later now, and we were just hanging out and figured we might as well finish recording. So the first thing I want to get back into is your name, Rowshay. When I first met you, I didn't know how you got that name, but I found out after, and it's a fantastic story. And the way we met actually is at Red Bull 3 Style in Miami, in person. I think had we ever spoken before that?
Yeah, because you came to Sweet.
Oh.
And I opened up for you at Sweet.
That's right. But that was the only time we met before.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was it.
So we basically played the Red Bull 3 style, had some fun. You played some Backstreet Boys, I think it was.
It was in sync.
In sync during the 3 style set. DJ EU from Atlanta was on that. A-Rock from Orlando. We had a good set.
That guy Orig.
Yeah, Orig from Kentucky.
Yeah. Who else was that? It
was it 5 of us?
It was. Yeah, it was
you,
me, A-Rock, EU, and Orig. Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, that was dope. I had a blast.
Remember they asked me in the interview, they were like, what are you going to do, like, if and when you win the, what was it, 10K or whatever? And I was like, I'm not going to win. I was like, Conflict's going to win. And they're like, well, no, you have to talk like you're going to win. I'm like, I'm not going to win.
It was only 5K.
Oh, yeah.
It's 5,000. They diminished the prizes so much. Red Bull cut so much budget that I don't know, man. Like it was 5,000 for that battle. I'm sorry, that was that.
That was 10. The first one
That's right.
The regional shit was 5. Because the only reason I even entered it was because they got the paper up, and I was like, oh.
5K. That's right. So you won 5, I won 5, and then we both made it to that next level, which was 10.
I won. I think, and then you won 10, and I think A-Rock won 7, and I think I got 3. Yeah.
That was a $20,000 battle?
Yeah. They went off that year.
Holy shit. Because I remember when I did it again with Obscene, I think 2015, the prize was like cut. Like it was like drastically lower.
Yeah. And remember, they gave us all kinds of cool shit.
Yeah, you still have your bag.
I still have that bag.
You're wearing it right now.
And
Which, by the way, is terrible. Can I get you a new one?
No.
No?
No.
All right. How did you end up with the name Rowshay?
Okay, so.
Which, by the way, you spell it different than the
yeah, it's Rowshay.
Okay.
But there's a reason behind that because so. Anyways, when I was DJing these parties, and I didn't have a DJ name yet. Like I wanted my DJ name to be.
You didn't have a DJ name when you were out in the field?
No, this is super early,
okay.
And I wasn't just gonna make up a DJ name. I felt like it kind of had to come organically.
Okay.
Because I wanted my DJ name to be Nonami.
Nonami?
But it would be written out as no name, so it'd be Noname. So it'd be Nonami, like no name.
Got it.
But
it's not that good of an idea.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. So I was like, So anyways, I was doing these parties, and they were like, the promoter booked me because he knew me, like his whole like little crew knew me, and they booked me because they knew that I could like. The parties were mainly like Bobcat players and Panther players. But then they were like, we need a DJ that can like make the white chicks dance, but at the same time play the shit that like make these dudes
pop off and spend
pop
money.
off, and you know what I mean, and
Of
just keep like a different level of energy. So, anyways, I got done, and then we were all outside this club, and we were standing in front of this dude. This dude had like an orange Ferrari or something like that. It was either a Lambo or a Ferrari. It was orange because of the Bobcats. And they were all calling me White Chocolate, of course, because I'm a white guy. And
What, the Bobcats is a football team? Or?
they were the basketball team before they switched back to the Hornets.
Okay.
So we're out there, and they're all calling me White Chocolate. And then the promoter, who I've known for a long time, he comes like stumbling outside. And like the back pedal, like I was hitting these dudes over the head, like on the ticket. But I felt like I was worth every bit of it. But anyway, so he comes outside. He hears them calling me White Chocolate. And he sits down on the steps, sticks a black and mild in his mouth. And he's like, if that guy is any type of chocolate, he's forever Rowshay. Because he knew that I like grew up playing golf and shit. And I got...
Forever Rowshay or Ferrero?
Yeah, he said forever Rowshay.
Okay.
But it's what you said, like,
right.
you know. So he knew, like, that's like the gourmet chocolate. So he was saying, like, I was like, I'm not grimy, but at the same time, like, I understand, like, the hip hop shit and all that. So he said Forever Rowshay, and when he said it, I was like, Rowshay. And then I was like, I don't want to spell it the same way because of, like, legality. So I just changed it to how I thought the name would be. I just pictured it as R-O-W and then S-H-A-Y.
Because Rowshay is spelled like, it's French. If I
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like
It's a French. Yeah.
Nothing like what you spell it, but that is genius. How did you think and have the foresight to not name yourself the same letter? Did you, like, have copyright and trademark in your head?
Well, I knew that I couldn't use what they had.
Okay. How did you know that? Just general.
Because I grew up around smart individuals.
Nice.
I've always been surrounded by smart individuals.
Oh, good. I'm glad you did that. That would suck.
And then plus I thought with it being S-H-A-Y, it sounded like a name, like Shay.
Well, I fucking think your name's great, Rowshay. I like your logo too. It's very elegant.
Yeah, there's the elegant logo, Brad Beltrano that we spoke about earlier, he made that because I was like, hey, I need a new logo, and I wanted to look like, I wanted to be like high fashion. I wanted to favor like Saint Laurent.
Interesting.
And so he drew that up. And then there's a newer one that is like more, I guess, like edgy, and it has like a red A for like the anarchy aspect of it.
I think I've seen that one. I don't remember exactly, but it sounds familiar. What do you think you would tell yourself if you could go back? Let's say you've been playing for about 12 years. If you could go back to year 3 or 4, what would you tell yourself? If anything.
I'd probably be like, hey, you should probably take this serious.
Okay. You should probably take it. And what do you mean by take it serious, though? So what does that mean? Practice more, download music more?
No, because I've always been good about that, like the practice and the downloading of the music and making edits and things like that. But I think more along the lines of staying on top of like I have a website right now that has been under construction since December. All I have to do is go and get it approved, like it's built, and I'm like, just don't get around to it. So like just more about, I'll be more serious about probably the marketing and that aspect.
Yeah.
Well, because somehow people think that I'm really good at marketing myself, but I think I could be tighter with it as far as the mass appeal.
Yeah, you could definitely be a lot tighter with it. I think you definitely. I think what happens is, since you're successful in this market, you don't feel that necessity or that pressure to get those things done.
Yeah, and I get inspired sometimes to do it, and I'll get like some cool photos and stuff made, and then it's like, all right. But it's not a big necessity. And then there's also like this part of me that enjoys being like
under the radar,
like the under the radar, and the appeal of not taking it serious, but then it's like actually serious. If that makes sense, it's like,
I kind of get it, but I think it's detrimental. So like, I'll tell you how my brain works sometimes. Sometimes I'll leave things undone on a list of things to do, specifically so I have something that hasn't been accomplished. So I operate like my energy is always like, oh, I have more things to get done. I got to get some done. I have to so I keep that chaotic element of I'm not done yet by not doing a couple of things, and that way I constantly feel pressure, even if everything's good, like I'm booked out, a couple of weeks in advance, everything's how it's supposed to be. I like putting pressure on myself in that way. So I like leaving a couple of things undone, so I always have a project that I can move on to next. But then I find that when I actually complete them, I feel really good. So I'm like torn as to how I should operate those things. But You should get your fucking website done. Put it out there. That's my recommendation.
Yeah, it's done. I just need to go by the studio and be like, yeah, you can launch that.
Yeah, you should go do that. Go do it on Monday.
Yeah, I'll probably go Monday, maybe Wednesday.
If there are any young DJs listening, what advice, if any, could you give them? Like some maybe that you would have wanted somebody to tell you besides take it seriously?
How young are we talking? Like, are they?
Just, I don't know, a couple of years.
Are they? So they've been in it for a minute.
Yeah, maybe they've been in it. I don't think that there would be a lot of like day one DJs listening to this right now.
You'd be surprised.
If I know, I would be surprised. There's DJs in Africa that hit me up like via email, like, hey, can you listen to this mix? I want to know how I'm doing, and I'm just like, how the fuck did you ever like hear this? Shout out to Africa.
Yeah.
But it's incredible to me. So there might be some day one DJs out there that are thinking about it, but I think for the most part, the usual listener of this podcast, I'm going to guesstimate, if it isn't some poor wife or girlfriend that's being subjected to this by the DJ that's like on a road trip, is going to be somebody that's been playing for a while and is trying to hit that next level. So they might have a couple of clubs under their belt, or they're still like trying to get into certain clubs, but like they've been playing enough to feel confident enough to go out there and search for placement in the market. That's why I think that the majority of the listeners are. What would you tell them if you had anything?
I would probably say, like, number one, like, always have an idea and know and stand by your worth.
Which is hard. That's a tough task.
I think that's one thing that I've always been really good at.
Knowing your worth. But the worth is not so much dictated by the individual, but more so by the market. Don't you feel?
No?
I've
never felt that way.
Okay, let's debate that.
Like, I've never...
Do you feel...
Yeah, the second thing, like, after knowing your worth, I would probably say to not be afraid to invest in yourself.
That's a big one. So that gets a wholehearted agreement from me.
Yeah, and don't put your life and your path and your career in someone else's hands, and do it. Invest in yourself. You can have a circle, but invest in yourself.
Yeah,
whether it's time or money.
Both really should be done. Like I do those promo runs where I buy a bunch of things and just give them away.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, you have to do.
And every time I do that, I'm just like, God damn it, it's a buttload of money.
Yeah, like that. If I could go back to the year 3, dude, I would be really like, hey, like, stay on top of this. But then, like, so much life.
Much life, period, at the end.
Yeah, like with me, it was like if I wasn't in a salon, I was with family, and the gigs have always been there, and it's, they've always just been like, I just like been the dude.
So back to the first idea, which was know your worth and
about the market.
Yeah, so let's look. The reason why I think the market pretty much dictates a large piece of what you're worth is because wouldn't you like to get paid $10,000 a night, $15,000 a night, $1 million a night, right? So like the market is not going to pay you that because it's not what clubs make. So you are subject to what the range of payment in your specific market. Now you could maybe push the top end if you feel like you bring something to the table that the club should pay a premium for, but beyond what is already accepted as a rate, you're not going to divert too far away from that.
Yeah, but I think about it like this. So let's say my goal was to make $1 million a night.
Yeah.
In Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm like, all right, how can I do that?
Yes.
That means I would have to, like, hard ticket sell one of the mega clubs here.
If you wanted to make $1 million a
Yeah,
night,
like we're just I'm talking
Yeah.
about.
You'd have to hard ticket sale for like $10,000 a person.
Yeah, so it would have to be something along the lines of like my only opportunity to ever come close to that goal would be I would have to make a hit record.
Okay.
So then my focus would become to make a hit record because I want to make that $1 million.
Sure.
Now we're talking on a very large scale. So
Yeah, which I think is still outlandish. I don't think anybody that's made a hit record will ever make $1 million in one night unless they're performing in a private party or for
that's
royalty.
what it would have to be. It
Right.
Nothing is impossible.
I agree. So, okay.
But my thing with the market was, so when I came into this market, when I started DJing, I would probably say that the DJ pay was anywhere from like probably $50 to, I think like the top dudes were getting like $450.
Okay.
And 500 was always like my number. I remember telling people, like they would be like, "Yo, you're really dope. I want you to play here," and I would be like, "Yeah, this is what I want." And they'd be like, "You're crazy. We've never paid a DJ that before." And I would be like, "All right."
So your target, your bullseye, was 500.
Yeah, out the gate.
At the time, right?
Yeah.
So how did you get to that number?
To 500?
Yes.
Let me tell you the story I told you to Moe's.
Wait, what was the story?
So my idea of 500 was, because I didn't do any market research or anything like that.
So how did you land on that number? Because it's so weird.
Because I was like, okay, if AM was getting, 10, 15, 30K, whatever those crazy numbers were, and he was a DJ, he's really dope.
Yeah.
I was like, if he's getting that, like I saw him come to Charlotte and, get 5K to 15K, whatever. Like, I was like, I should be able to get 5.
So you just landed on it, and it just so I think it was just coincidence that you happened to land near a figure that was realistic for the marketplace, because you could have easily said, well, he got paid 15, I should make 10%. I'm 10% of what he is, so I want 1,500.
Yeah, which would I did some things in the beginning that I got $1,000, $1,500 for.
Fantastic.
just for being like, yo, it's what it is.
Wow. So you just went with it.
But I also did some stuff for like $150. Like there was things that I was like, okay, I need to do this because I can take this. Like for instance, my first Tuesday night residency was at this little place called the Pub, and I got that gig because I DJ'd this pool party for free, and the owner was there, and he was like, yo, I want to get that guy in my spot. And I told him, he had the pub is like maybe 2 of these hotel rooms.
Okay.
And I was like, yo, 500. And he was like, that guy is crazy. And then my homeboy Derek was like, yo, man, you're going to have to do some things. And I was like, all right, whatever. What's he want to do? And he's like, yo, I can do like $150, 200 max. And I was like, all right, so we'll base it off the sale. If we hit this, it's 200. If it's 150. And I was taking everything. I was taking everything to that spot. But anyways, I was only there like 3 to 6 months, I think. Yeah, somewhere like 3 to 6 months. It wasn't a very long time. But I was there just giving it 100% every time. And then we moved that Tuesday night to a place called Tilt. And I was already residing at Tilt like Thursday, Friday, and Saturday because I did a party there.
So you were working Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday at the same place?
No, the pub was Tuesday, and then I would do like Thursday, Friday at Tilt, and then I go to this place called the Sunset Club on Saturday.
Okay.
But I did remember that big group of people we were talking about, like the party goers that I did. So I did a party for them at Tilt, and after that party, like this dude Peavy was like, yo, I want that dude. Peavy was one of the owners of Tilt. He was like, yo, I want that dude here. And the other owners was like, he sucks. He mixes the songs too quick. He plays all these different types of music. Like they haven't heard a DJ like that. But Peavy's like, did you not see the crowd? Like what was like they were moving and dancing, and it was da 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 da.
Oh
So, anyways, I think the deal with them was, I think it was think it was 400 every Thursday and no, 400 on Friday, Saturday, 350 on Thursdays. That was that.
So that's where you kind of maybe had the idea of the $500 mark. You're like, I got to get to that $5.
Yeah, but the Sunset Club, I believe, was paying me $5, maybe $4.
Well, I think that's a realistic expectation of pay. So you knew your worth was probably in that ballpark. So you would accept things that would be on the lower end.
Well, yeah, because if you think about it, if you're getting, because there's multiple dates, it
works out.
Yeah.
You get a bunch of averaging because if they have you every week.
And it's so funny because I remember like Skip and Dirty, who were like the main resident dudes in town. They played like the Big Club Forum. They had talked to me earlier, and I think they so many DJs are on like some undercutting shit. Mm-hmm. And when they talked to me, I was like, oh, you ain't got to worry about that with me.
Right. So you did a free pool party that turned out to give you paying gigs.
Yes.
Which is I'm not opposed to doing free work. I've never been opposed to it. I'm still not opposed to it. Whether it be doing a mix for somebody or some sort of a project, somebody needs scratching on something, or they want like whatever the case might be. I'm not opposed to that because I know what I do is I measure the upside. When you did that pool party, did you think to yourself, maybe something will come of this, or were you just trying to get some time behind the decks in front of people?
It was both, but I was pretty sure that something would come up because the pool party was for this thing called CarolinaNightlife.com, and at that time, that dude had a website that like all the nightclubs were a part of.
Nice.
And he would post pictures. So he would go out with his guys, and they would take pictures at each spot and then post them there. So
you
like,
knew that
all the industry people were there.
Bingo. So it was like one of those things. I talk about how you're supposed to have 10%. Well, in my opinion, right? Everything. A caveat to anything I ever say on this podcast is always in my opinion. This is not gospel. 10% on one end should be things that you do for the look and less rate.
Yeah.
So, like, I get to say, oh, I play it here or I play it there or check me out in this city or that city. It doesn't pay well, but it looks like a massive accomplishment, right?
Oh,
and then on the other side, there's a 10% that are like, I don't know, Wild Jerry's tequila saloon that pays you 7 times your regular rate because they're in a casino and they have expendable money.
Yeah.
It's not doing shit for your career, but it's doing something for your bank account.
Right.
So 10% on one side, 10% on the other, and then in the middle, you have to fill it with respectable clubs that pay well. Mm-hmm. That pay well, quote unquote, meaning market price.
Yeah.
And I just had a conversation with somebody that was asking me what the rate was for a Tuesday in Miami. They were doing a party, and they were asking me like, what do I usually get paid on the weekend? And I gave them the number, and they were like, well, that's going to be like 3 or 4 times what we regularly pay people. And I'm thinking to myself, like, this sounds like a fun party. It sounds like something I want to do. And I told them, what is your fair market price for me? What do you feel comfortable paying me? I hope that my agent doesn't listen to this because he'll get real mad at me.
I'm a nobody, so he won't listen to it.
But that's not true. So considering it's like a local person and it sounded like a fun project, something that a one-off, I don't think that it's going to be a big deal. If anything, it'll open more doors for our guys. So I said, what do you feel comfortable with offering? Because I know what the spot is, I know where it is. And he was like, tap dancing a little bit, and then he finally gave me a number, and I'm like, that's fine, we can do it for that. And then I said, if I crush it, give me more dates and we'll talk about the rate again.
Yeah.
And he's like, that sounds good. So that to me is a proper negotiation. I basically just gave him what I get paid average during the weekend. He told me it's a Tuesday. What I'm doing is I'm gathering data. I know what I'm worth on a weekend. Now he knows like what I get paid. I told him, what do you think I should be paid, or what's fair market value? What are you comfortable with?
Right.
So I'm just basically building this little pyramid that just leads up to one point, which is just tell me how much fucking money you have to give me for me to go do my job and crush your spot and do all the auxiliary things that happen, which is putting me on a flyer, picture on a flyer, social medias. Mm-hmm. Like I promote the spot, and it becomes at this point a little bit of an event.
Right.
It's like people get excited. DJs mostly get excited and come check me out.
But DJs spend money.
And DJ, well, they might.
Yeah.
It depends on the DJ, but
and that's one thing. That's I don't want it to come off like I'm like this, like a hard ass on my rate, because it's.
But it's okay because I believe it, because at the end of the day, if tomorrow every club in this city shuts down, you just pick up your scissors and your comb and you can walk into any salon in the city.
Like
you make the same or more.
There's definitely there's I have a standard that I always stick to, but at the same time, like all you said, nothing excites me more than a place wanting to build.
Okay.
Like, if you hit me up, for a one-off,
you're getting taxed.
And I'm not really feeling it. Yeah, it's taxed. But if you hit me up and you're like, hey, Rowshay, I'm opening up this spot. This is what I'm trying to do. Da 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 da. Like, that excites me more than anything. I'm like, yo, let's get it. You know what I mean?
And that's happened to you before. Like, there's been a couple of nightclub venues in the city that when they're opening up or they need a refresh or they do a remodel or whatever, they'll contact you.
Yeah, for sure.
And they'll say, what? Like, how did you end up getting linked up at Vault?
So, at the time, so Vault is owned by Chet, mm-hmm. and Chet owns Stash. And Chet had just sold his napkin factory, I believe. But anyways, Chet was coming to me to get his haircut.
Hold on, napkin factory?
Yeah, he had a napkin factory.
That's fantastic.
And he would throw napkins everywhere he went. Like, that's what we did. We threw napkins instead of money.
Were they paper napkins or cloth?
No, the paper napkins.
Holy shit. That's amazing.
I'll tell you a great story about that before I get into the other thing. So Jay-Z was in town, and he came to Label, which is now World, after his concert. And we had the table right beside him. And we're there, and he comes in, and of course everybody shifts to him and his table with their phones. And me and Chet and this other dude, I'm like, yo, this is boring. And they're like, yeah, it is. So I do what we always do. I just grab a big stack of napkins, and I took them, and I just threw them. And when I threw them, they went right over top of Jay-Z. And he just looks up, and all these napkins are just falling on him. And then his eyes just come to me, and we make contact, and I just like duck. All right, so anyways, fast forward. And then after that, we stayed a little while, and then me and my wife left. But then the next night, he was going to be in Greensboro. So Chet and the other dude went to Greensboro. And they had a table, and Jay came in, and like he really wasn't feeling where they had his table placed. So he saw them, and he remembered them from the night before. He's like, I want to be beside them. So he comes over there, and he's like, he walks right up to Chet, and he's like, yo, we throwing napkins tonight. And Chet's like, nah, man, we ain't throwing napkins. And he goes, why do you throw napkins? And Chet was like, well, I used to own a napkin factory, so essentially throwing napkins was like throwing money because I got to buy more napkins, and I sell them the napkins. And he was like, oh. I was like, yo, Chet, that was a perfect opportunity. When he was like, are we throwing napkins tonight? You should have been like, nah, we throwing money. Keep up.
Well, the napkin story is it's a lot more gangster, though.
Yeah, it is.
Because it's like, I own a napkin
factory. And he would flood clubs with napkins. Like, clubs would bring out bottles and boxes of napkins. That's what he would order. It would, like, he would get...
Did they buy napkins from him?
I'm sure.
That would be so dope. You own the napkin factory. You go to the club and you're like, bring out those boxes you bought for me, and then you just toss them.
Yeah, but anyways, like, him throwing napkins became like a serious thing. Like, it was like... So anyway,
that's such a gangster business move. Like, you're selling them boxes of shit. You go to their club to
yeah, dog.
to
we're gangster down here.
That's amazing. All right, so go ahead. You linked up with Chet.
So anyways, I was cutting Chet's hair, and he told me he was like, I'm thinking about opening up this spot, and I was like, all right. And he goes, I want to call it the Stash House. He goes, but like a mustache, like Stache house. I was like, all right, yeah. And he was like, I wanted it to be small, and I was like, yeah. And at that time, I was like, yeah, we'll do it small, because he wanted to do the hookah. I was like, yeah, we'll do small, do hookah. I was like, we'll play all like old school hip hop,
Beautiful.
R&B, things
So
like
dope.
that. Yeah, we'll just. And he was like, all right, so we were there, and we were there every day and every night, and we just built it up. I mean, it was slammed Thursday through Sunday.
J. Cole would go out there too.
J.
Right?
Cole would go every time he come into town. A lot of rappers and
Wait,
athletes.
J. Cole doesn't live here?
Yeah, I think he's got a house in Raleigh.
Okay.
But anyways, a lot of people came through there, and now he's expanding it, so he's getting a new location. But then, after about 2 years, Stash, the vault used to be called Casbah.
Used to be called what?
Casbah, and it was like all
Casper or
Casbah, like
Casbah.
rock the Casbah.
Okay, gotcha.
And that dude wanted to sell, and Casbah was like an all EDM spot, it was like house and EDM, but that's also like when that was the wave, like it worked.
People actually went for that?
Oh, it was rocking here, and like
Wow.
like whenever like that shit was hot, like the whole Dutch house and all that era, that 2009
I find it hard to believe because the space is relatively small.
But that's what made it so great, was it being small.
Really?
Yeah, because they would bring in like saxophone players and stuff like that, and
I don't know, man. Listening to EDM in a cramped location like that would just make me want to punch.
yeah, but it
you
had
in
like
the
a
face.
$150,000 sound system in it, so it was like it worked.
Okay, all right. So they wanted to sell it once the bubble was bursting, or what?
Well, the dude was just over it. He was like, I think he was just done nightclubbing, and he had a restaurant. He was more focused on that. So, anyways, Chet found out, and he was like, I'm getting it. I was like, get it.
Nice.
So he got it, and he was like, what are we gonna do? And I was like, we're gonna turn this bitch up.
Nice.
So we did that, and that was more of like the expansion of the hip hop. Like that's when, because I knew like the hip hop was about to take over. So
Right.
I was like, we're gonna do it, and we're gonna do it cool.
So, do you think in your future you might like invest into potentially nightclubs in Charlotte? Like if Chet decides to put Stash in another location or buy a new club or something like that, do you think that you would want to partner up or have some sweat equity on it or something like that?
Yeah. I mean, anything he wants to do, I'd be down to do. I mean, that's just how we've always done it.
Right.
So like, yeah.
Is that like an exit strategy for you or plan B? Like if, let's say that in 10 years you decide that you want to stop DJing.
Yeah, like, well, with anything, whenever that's all my brain thinks about, then I'll do it 100%.
Right.
Just like the DJing thing is.
Yeah. Okay, I get you. So it's like when it's time to shift, it's just like shifting on manual transmission.
Yeah,
You were in DJ gear, now you switch to operator gear, and now you run your club.
Oh yeah, because I would be there.
Right.
You know, I would never be a silent investor. I would be like in.
No, I would love and hate to be the DJ at your future club if you decide to do that. I'd love it because you would be treated fairly, and you all the equipment would be top notch. The DJ booth would be in the right place. You'd have the best vantage point of
Yeah,
the,
you would
the
have
club.
guidance from somebody.
You would have some guidance, but at the same time, you'd have somebody that knows every single trick.
Yeah.
It's like when I'm playing for my colleagues, when I play for other DJs, I feel the most nervous because it's like a magician doing tricks for other magicians.
All right.
It's like they know every little beat, every trick, every like hidden sleeve move. They know the whole shtick, so you can't get one over on them. Whereas a crowd is a little bit easier, the general public. But so that's why I'm saying I would love and hate to be a DJ at your future club because you know all my tricks. You'd be like, hey, yeah, that was cool, but you kind of have to do it a little better because you know what I'm saying? Like you're the boss.
Yeah, but at the same time, when you're saying tricks, are you meaning like things to cover up, like
I mean,
mistakes?
yeah, just like let me see, how can I put it? Like the reaction that a general populace will give a DJ is very different than the reaction that we feel when we hear another DJ play. So, for example, if let's say the Cardi B record is the whichever one is the biggest song in the world right now,
Right.
and you basically you drop that record at the right moment in the club,
Uh-huh.
everyone goes crazy. To DJs, it's not that big a deal. You're just playing the hottest record.
Right.
It's like, obviously you're gonna get that reaction.
Yeah.
But to a club goer, it's like, holy shit, this is amazing.
Right.
So that's what I mean by kind of, we know our tricks.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So we're not
Like when you watch like IG stories and like the hottest record's playing and people are wilding out, you're like, yeah. You're like,
right.
duh.
Right. Or when a DJ just does a video of himself, like rapping a song and not
Yeah.
showing the crowd, it's like you're probably DJing for an empty club.
Yeah.
So yeah, there are little tricks. Maybe the word tricks is the wrong thing, but
No,
we're,
yeah,
we're
I
less
get it.
easily impressed.
Yeah, yeah.
By-
But I would be the first person to tell that DJ. I'd be like, what's gonna impress me is you impressing them.
Right. Right. If it works,
I don't care about your fucking baby scratch and your chirps and your twiddle to triple click flared somersaults. Like,
if it works, it works.
yeah, I want you to make them happy.
I think veteran DJs would be the best club owners.
Oh yeah, for I think for that aspect of it, and there's so much work that goes into nightclubs. Just like doing stash and vol, it is something.
You mean like on the operator side?
On an operational side, on a promotion side, marketing side, formatting side, just that's always something.
Mm.
And even in the back room, I mean, you're dealing with permits and legalities, and
Sounds like a lot of bullshit I don't want to deal with.
there, shout out to that.
I definitely don't.
But that's getting involved with a club like that, like really sinking your teeth into something. Also, it ups your worth because it shows that nightclub, and then it shows other nightclub people that you're invested.
Yeah, if
And
you
you're-
make something work out of nothing, then
Yeah.
you definitely gain respect from the community, I would say.
Yeah, you can never, you can't be successful in anything if you're just showing up for the check. Like you gotta be committed to it.
That's such a dope statement.
Yeah.
Say it again.
With anything in business, you just cannot, you're not just showing up for a check.
You can't be successful if you just show up for a check.
Yeah, you can't. It's impossible because the people providing that check will sense it, and they will eventually stop providing you a check because you're not that fucking good.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? The greatness comes from you being invested
And
and
caring. Yeah.
If you just coming in to DJ, do what you do, grab your check and roll out, it's like,
It's something I've actually put into practice recently more so than usual. Dealing with club managers, I will always ask them to tell me before I play. I'm like, please let me know if there's a birthday, a big spender, a specific music genre, anything that has to get done.
yeah,
Like, I want to know.
yeah,
At the end of the day, that's two reasons. Number one, because I want to make sure that all the customers are happy,
right,
no matter what. That's my end game. Because if the club stays open for another 6 months, 8 months, 12 months, I have a residency for 6 months, 8 months, 12 months. And then the other piece is that I enjoy being challenged. So if there's somebody in there that wants to hear some off-the-wall shit that I don't normally do, what that does is it creates new pathways in my brain of how to get from what I usually do and what is going to work for that crowd to that person's island and then back.
right.
And I really like that process
And also, it shows them that you take it serious.
and that I care.
Yeah, that you care.
So that's what I'll do pre-show and then quote unquote show,
Right.
right? Just playing records really, and then after I'm done, I always will ask a manager if they're around, how was it? Was everyone happy? Could I have done something better? So now,
And that's humility, and that's called maturity.
well, maybe, but I look at it as kind of it's kind of a sneaky tactic because usually they'll say, no, it was great, everyone loved it, you got good reviews, right? So what I'm doing is I'm reinforcing that by them having, like, them saying it. If in the future someone goes, hey, how was Saturday? The last thing that they said about that night was, it was great, he did a good job, everyone loved it. You know, so it's kind of like, I want the feedback, but at the same time I want them to say it to kind of reaffirm it in their own brain. And then if they happen to give me a criticism or a suggestion, they're like, well, this could have been better, or we do this differently, then I'm like, oh, no problem. And then the next time I adjust, adapt, and I actually gained more from that than them just saying, yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
So that, yeah, I agree with you when you say you can't just be in it for a paycheck. Like, I genuinely care, and I want every club that I work at to be successful. Because that's just good for us.
The biggest turnoff for me is whenever if I work somewhere with any type of project, DJing, hair, marketing, like anything that I do, if I feel like the other person is not, if they're just trying to hire guns,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, nah, like you need to be ready to shoot as well. Like, it's, you know what I'm saying?
Right, you have to be invested.
Yeah.
That's kind of gangster. You're just hiring guns, you got to be ready to shoot as well.
Yeah.
I've been to places where I feel like this place is not going to be open much longer.
No, you can tell.
And I just look around and I'm like, how are you guys making any money?
Yeah,
Like,
you can
things
tell.
are just so off. But that's why I go back to my point that DJs that have been doing it for a while, like, I don't have just one city or one club as a reference. Like, you being relatively local, you've worked for multiple clubs in this city that have been successful and some that haven't. And you know what it takes to be a successful club and what it takes to not make it, or what happens if you don't have enough to make it. So it's like, if you were ever in a position to be a consultant for nightclubs, you would be able to give them examples of successful clubs, not successful clubs, reasons why, things you would have done different, like just the knowledge now. At this point, like, I've been to most major cities in the United States and I've played at clubs, some that don't exist anymore, a lot of them still do. And I just think to myself, like, if I ever wanted to transition out of this into consulting or helping some sort of a nightlife conglomerate do marketing, I think that 15 years, well, not 15, just 10. I've been DJing for about 15. But about 10 years of, like, professional DJing is worth a lot in that space.
Yeah.
Because I could tell them the DJ booth doesn't go there, it goes over there.
Right, which
Like,
makes a huge difference.
Right, it makes a really big difference. The flow of the room, the bars, like, okay, this bar needs to be over there. Like, I brought something up to the I don't want to say the club, but a club that I frequent. There's, like, one bar in the front, and then there's not another bar for the whole dance floor all the way, like, in the next room, you got to go to the next bar. And I was like, you have to get through a whole crowd and a bunch of shit to get to that bar.
Yeah.
It's like, you ever thought about having shot girls just walk around the back?
Yeah.
Like, don't even walk them in through the crowd, because that's just going to get sloppy and drinks will fly. But just have them walk, like, back and forth and just see if anyone wants shots. Mm-hmm. So if somebody's near the middle or the back, they could, just pay her or just have her give her, like, a card machine or something so they don't have to have cash, and hand out shots. So that way you double, potentially, the consumption of that crowd. You split it in half. The front half can go to that bar. The back half can get shots from the shot girls.
Yeah. And they've also created a new way to get drinks.
And it's an atmosphere change for sure. And he was like, I don't know why we don't do that. I'm gonna bring it up. And I was like, good, it's a good thing. So those little things you start picking up along the way, I think, really help potentially the operation of clubs.
Yeah, I think the future of this whole nightlife and lounge is that if you're going to want to be successful, you're going to have a more
Tactical
and interactive atmosphere, which means, like, with the shot girls or whatever. I think the idea of a table or a bar is not enough anymore. You're going to need...
I just had a really freaking brilliant idea. I don't want to say it on the podcast, but I'll tell you off air. It was really, really, really good.
But like, the idea of the table was so cool in the beginning because you had your own waitress.
Right, the bottle sales.
So like that was
Yeah, you had
the
to.
thing.
You didn't have to go to the bar. You didn't have to
Right.
wait. You basically got, because if you were there with 4 people, you figure you're gonna end up consuming about a bottle's worth of alcohol anyway.
Right.
So why not just cut to the
Yeah.
chase, get the bottle to your table, and have a designated individual that's going to serve you, and make sure that your experience is a lot less congested than standing at the bar waiting for a drink.
Yeah, and it was, and in the beginning, it did feel like VIP, but I think tables have become so like standard that the experience of a table is not as appealing as it was
Right.
10 years ago.
Do you think it's because when it first began, the idea of spending 10x, 12x, 15x over the actual cost of the bottle didn't make sense? Like that premium that you pay for convenience, when you buy a bottle of Grey Goose for $250, $300, $400, you can buy it at the store for $50. You're paying a premium for convenience. So maybe the initial bottle service wave, people just couldn't accept paying that much money for a table. So only people that had expendable income would do it. But as it became more widely accepted, and people said, well, that's just what bottles cost,
Right.
more people decided to spend that money because they knew that was how they get the look.
Right.
So now, since it became and has become so generally accepted, it's lost its luster. Because
Yeah.
more people can do it, more people are okay with spending that much money. So the average person's like, yeah, I'm not really going to do that. Everyone does that shit. Fuck it. I'm just going to stay at the bar.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
like counterculture.
Yeah, it's kind of, well, so you got to think about it like this. So in the beginning, the partiers were on the dance floor and around the bar, and then like your heavy hitters were at the table.
Right.
Like they were doing real VIP shit, spending VIP money.
Right.
And they're not gonna dance. You know what I mean? They were suits. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? So,
Well,
but then,
suits or
yeah,
otherwise, but yeah.
or whatever. They weren't there to dance.
Right.
But then I think when it's almost like the table has become the dance floor.
It's average. It became average.
So now
the dance floor is what's cool.
it's getting back to that.
Right.
Because I think now like I do these things, like I call them posture parties.
Posture parties?
Yeah, so basically it's just everybody has a table,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone is cramming into their friend's table. It's basically just like everybody's standing at a table,
Mm-hmm.
and they're just standing, or they're on their phone, and the dance floor is like just wide open.
Well, I feel
because
like it's
people are so focused on being at these tables.
Right, because they still have the image or the illusion that the table is VIP.
Yeah, or they're milking someone's bottle, but like I think the standard and the what's the word, like
That's got to be a good rate for that party, by the way.
Yeah.
If everyone's popping bottles, they got to pay out.
but it's a posture party. They're just postured. They're standing. It's a look.
Yeah.
But anyway, but I think it's the same thing with the door. But it's lost its luster because so many people are able to do it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Where I feel like if they maybe would have kept it at a higher level of whatever, then it would be a little bit.
Yeah, but how do you keep that level high? Because you can't like.
That's where you have to stick to your guns. But
if people are willing to spend money, how are you going to do that? Like you can't.
people will always spend money.
Sure.
And the perfect example of that is the Disney vacation I just went on. And trust me, Disney is sticking to their guns. Like they're doing it the same way day in, day out, and nobody is breaking format. So people will always spend money if the experience is worth the money.
Okay, we agree on that.
So like I think, and what a lot of things the way you tell people is, let's say for instance I went to a club.
So hold on, before you do that, remember your example. My argument to counter that would be that there's one Disney, but there's a lot of clubs. So there's only one Disney, meaning one company that can do what they do in regards to the experience. right? So I could potentially open up my own thing, which is called, conflicts
You can't
cartoon
look at
characters.
you can't look at it as there's just one Disney, because there's a lot of motherfucking cartoon characters.
Right, but so that's what I'm saying. So like, let's say that I open conflicts cartoon character theme park, and then I create a bunch of cartoon characters that have no context because it's just like, you know, funny things like an elephant and a bear or whatever. Who's gonna come pay money for that?
Exactly.
They know the Disney.
Right. So if you open up a nightclub that has no context or no character, who's gonna come pay money for that? And that's what these nightclubs have done. They just opened up.
Touche, Rowshay.
You know what I mean? They're just opened up nightclubs.
I understand what you're saying.
So like even that just pedals back to.
I still think it's a little different, but you've proved your point, so I'm just gonna.
That pedals back to the original thing about me saying that the market value. Like I've never thought that the market should determine what I get paid. Like yes, there has to be a balance, but at the same time.
And a realistic expectation.
At the same time, I want to push the market.
Sure, I'm all for pushing markets.
So it's like, you're normally paying your dude, I don't know, $400. Okay, well you should pay me $600, and here's why.
Sure.
And then I have to deliver on the here's why.
I love that. That idea to me is my favorite money thing we talked about so far.
And the thing
you're paying your resident $4, I'm $6. Here's why, and then deliver on the here's why. That's the way to do it.
So
fantastic.
so you got to be a good DJ first. Like you got to know your music. You got to know your format. You got to know all that. Like that's just step one. But then if whatever club you go to, make sure that you're friendly with the bar staff and you get to know them. And like we were talking about early, when you show up, if you're doing the opening and the closing, don't just put on a mix and walk around. Don't run up a $300 bar tab. You know, do things to show worth. Crush the marketing. You know.
But that's a life philosophy more so than just Gary Vee, who's a motivational speaker. If you're not aware, talks about that all the time. Where he's like, give more than you take, and that. Part of that was like. The reason why I started this podcast. I don't want to just take all the damn time from this industry. Like I want to contribute something too. And that goes from the club. It's like, what are you going to take? You're taking time if you're there late.
Yeah.
You're taking advantage if you put on a mix and don't do your job. Right. You're taking product if you're drinking a $300 bar tab, and you're taking revenue if you're not doing your job properly. Right. So it's like, so what are you giving? What the fuck are you giving at that point?
So like my first year of DJing, was what I joke around and tell people it was like a vacation because I was so heavy in the hair thing, and then when I just became a DJ, it was like, wait, I get to go do this and drink and get paid. So it was like, so that first year I was kind of an asshole in the sense of like, you know, letting mixes ride and I, you know, drinking way too much on somebody else's tab. But then whenever I grew up a little bit and then got back into it, I'd learned a lot, and I was like, I'm gonna apply these things that I've learned to it. And that's when the professionalism really kicked in.
Right.
And it's all things from experience.
That's dope. What else you got? You got anything else?
Oh yeah, just give me something to go, I'll go.
Well, I think at this point we have about an hour. No, we have an hour 30. I might go in there and edit it a bit. Why don't you give people your social media so they could look you up on Instagram?
Yeah, it's just at Rowshay, ROWSHAY.
Cool. Thank you for hanging out and talking to me. I feel like this is more conversation than podcast, but that's what always happens when we...
Oh, we got to talk about 3-Style, though. We didn't get to tell the stories.
What story do we have with the 3-Style?
The stories you told me I couldn't tell.
Wait, hold on. Give me a hint.
You know, like...
Oh, no, we're not talking about that. No. That's good. We'll just end the podcast there. Thank you, DJ Rowshay. We're going to go ahead and get out of here before we get in trouble.
Thank you.
Bye.